The storm was gone, but something deeper remained: stillness. Not the stillness of fear, not the stillness of death. This was the stillness of peace. Kira stood on the snowy hill, her child sleeping in a warm sling across her chest, watching. Lucas built something from the broken ship nearby. His hands worked fast, steady, like a man building more than just shelter. He was building home. It had been 3 days since her people came and left. 3 days since Lucas bled for her, fought for her, chose her and her son over everything else. Kira hadn't spoken much. Not because she was scared, but because she didn't know how to say what lived inside her chest now. No one had ever stayed before. No one had ever looked at her like she was worth fighting for. And now, a man from another world, a human, was preparing a life for them in a place no one else dared to survive. "Pass me that beam," Lucas said, smiling. Kira walked over, handed it to him, and raised an eyebrow. "You're building a house out of wreckage?" He grinned. "Hey, not just wreckage. This was a long-range scout pod. Durable, solar-heated, perfect for a family of 3. She looked away at that last word, family. The word made her heart twist. "I didn't mean to assume," he added quickly. But Kira shook her head, stepping closer. "No, it sounds right." Lucas paused. His hands stopped moving. For once, he looked unsure. "You don't have to say that," he said softly. "I know I'm not your everything," Kira interrupted. "Everything I hoped someone would be. When I was too broken to believe I deserved it." He looked at her. She looked at him. And in that quiet stare, no more words were needed. That night, they lit their final campfire together, not as strangers, but as something more. Kira single quotes S son sat in Lucas's lap, giggling as he pointed at the stars. "Which one is Earth?" he asked. Lucas smiled. "Too far to see. But maybe someday, I'll show you." Kira stirred the soup gently, watching them. She had dreamed once, long ago, of a quiet life. A place where she didn't have to fight just to exist. A place where her child could laugh without fear. And now, here it was. Real, warm, alive. As the fire crackled low, Kira turned to Lucas. "I need to tell you something." He looked at her, serious. "Go ahead. When I first saw you, I thought you were a ghost." He raised an eyebrow. "A ghost?" She nodded. "Or a dream before death, because no one had ever come for me before. Not like that. Not without wanting something in return." Lucas was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached out, gently took her hand. "You're not alone anymore," he said. "I don't want anything from you." She looked at him, tears rising. "I want something from you," she whispered. He blinked. "What?" She leaned closer. "Stay." Lucas didn't smile. He didn't nod. He simply pulled her close and held her, and in that silent promise, she knew. He had already chosen to stay long before she asked. In the days that followed, they turned the wreck into a home, a garden patch, a heater core, extra blankets. Kira taught Lucas her language. Lucas taught Kira how to shoot. Her son laughed more than ever before. They built something no one believed could exist on a dead world, but they didn't need the world's permission. They had each other. And every night, as the stars lit up the dark sky, Kira would whisper to her son, "We were lost in the ice, until love found us." She had touched many hands in her life, rough ones, cold ones, hands that took and never gave, but this was the first time she held one that was still, yet full of meaning. Kira sat beside the small fire inside the tent, her son asleep on her lap, and beside her, breathing slow and weak, was Lucas. His hand rested outside the blanket. It was large, calloused, and stained with dried blood. She reached out, hesitating at first, then gently placed her hand over his. It was warm, not just in temperature, but in something deeper. It made her feel like she wasn't alone. Earlier that day, after dragging him back from the snow, she had wrapped his wound, boiled water, and cleaned the claw marks. She didn't know much about human medicine, but she followed what she had seen him do for her child. Lucas hadn't said much. He only winced once, then fell asleep. Hours had passed. The wind outside had stopped, and silence filled the world again. Kyra stared at his face. Even in sleep, he looked serious, but not cruel. Never cruel. She wondered what kind of pain was he hiding behind that silence. He had told her little, only that he once had a daughter. That he had failed to protect her. Now, he had nearly died. To protect her child. Why? Why would a human, someone from a different world, a different kind, risk everything for people he barely knew? She gently tightened her fingers around his hand. No answer came, but in that quiet moment, something changed in her heart. For the first time in her life, Kyra felt safe, not just alive, not just warm, but seen. Lucas stirred. His eyelids fluttered. Open. He blinked at the fire, then turned his head slightly toward her. You stayed? He asked, voice dry. She smiled softly. You really thought I'd leave after everything you did? He tried to sit up, groaned, then fell back. Okay, bad idea. She chuckled. You're lucky, she said. That beast almost tore you in two. Lucas glanced at her son. He's okay. He's safe. Because of you, Lucas exhaled. Good. Silence again, but this silence wasn't empty. It was warm. Shared. Kyra looked at the bandages she had wrapped on his chest. I did what I could. You'll have scars, he smirked. Already had a few. One more won't hurt. She hesitated, then asked softly, why do you keep saving people, Lucas? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, because I wasn't fast enough to save my own. Her breath caught. He turned his head away. There was a fire. Back on Earth, my daughter was inside. I was on a mission too far away. By the time I came back, it was over. Kyra swallowed hard. She didn't know what to say. I came to this planet to disappear, he said quietly. To die slowly in the snow where no one would remember me. She looked at him with wet eyes. And yet, you saved us. Lucas gave a weak smile. Maybe I needed a reason to live again. She leaned closer, her hand still on his. You found one. Later that night, the fire burned low, but neither of them slept. Kyra sat beside Lucas, wrapped in one blanket. Her son lay peacefully beside them, his tiny hand holding part of Lucas's coat. They listened to the quiet wind. Kyra broke the silence. Back in my village, I was told I had no worth. That I was just one more mouth to feed. That my child would only suffer. Lucas turned to her slowly. They were wrong. She smiled, this time not with sadness, but with quiet strength. Thanks to you, she said. I believe that now. He stared at her, eyes soft. No, you believed it first. You walked into the storm. You didn't wait to be rescued. That's what saved your child. She looked at him, then at his hand still wrapped in hers, and she said the words that had never come out of her lips before. Thank you. For showing me that not all hands are meant to hurt. Asterisk, the first sign of danger wasn't sound. It was silence, a sharp, sudden kind that pressed on the skin like cold steel. Lucas was outside, checking his traps when he saw the strange marks in the snow. Boot prints. Multiple pairs. Fresh. He straightened slowly, eyes scanning the horizon. They're just beyond the hill. Movement, armor glinting faintly. 5 figures walking toward the camp. Not animals. Not strangers. These were Kyra's people, and they weren't coming for a friendly visit. Inside the tent, Kyra was laughing, really laughing, for the first time in years. Her son had made a little snow creature out of leftover bread and was pretending it was a dancing fire god, but her joy froze the moment Lucas stepped in, tense and quiet. We have company, he said, voice low. Kyra's heart dropped. Who? Your kind, he replied. And they're armed. She shot up, panic taking over. They must have tracked me. Lucas loaded his plasma flare and grabbed the fire rod. Why would they come now? They don't want me, she whispered, eyes wide. They want him, my son, Lucas frowned. Why? Kira swallowed. Because he lived through the storm. That makes him rare, special. Some clans sell storm survivors to scientists or breeders. They'll take him and never look back. Lucas's hand tightened around the weapon. That's not happening, he said. She grabbed his arm. No, you don't understand. They're stronger than us. If you fight, they'll hurt you, maybe worse. Lucas stared at her, then looked at the boy, who was hiding behind a blanket, confused and scared. He took a deep breath, then said calmly, let them try. The aliens arrived minutes later, 5 tall figures in dark winter armor, visors glowing. They stopped just outside the campfire circle. Kyra stepped out slowly, holding her hands up. Please, don't do this. One of them, an elder she knew too well, snorted. We didn't come for you, exile. We came for the boy. He's my child. And that makes him ours by blood, the elder sneered. He has value now. You never did. Lucas stepped forward, then calm, silent, but deadly. The aliens turned. One of them laughed. You think this human will stop us? Lucas raised his flare gun, eyes sharp. I don't think. I know, the elder scoffed. You wouldn't dare fire at us. Lucas smiled faintly. Try me. For a long moment, no one moved. The cold wind passed between them, then the youngest alien stepped forward. Enough. She left us, yes. But the boy is hers. She risked death for him. That is strength, not weakness, the elder growled. You question your elders now? I follow what's right, the young one replied. And this human stood for her when we wouldn't. Tension thickened. Kira held her breath. Then finally the elder spat into the snow and turned. Keep your cursed child. Let the human raise it. It'll die with him soon enough. They walked away, one by one, their shadows fading into the snow. Kira collapsed to her knees, shaking. Lucas knelt beside her. It's over. She turned to him, eyes full of emotion. You stood between me and them, again, he nodded. Always will. That night, the fire burned higher than before. Not from fear, but from something stronger. Respect. Kira sat close to Lucas. Her son nestled between them. She whispered, You didn't owe us anything. You could have walked away. Lucas looked at the boy, then at her. I didn't come to this planet to find a family, but maybe a family found me. Kyra's heart trembled. Not from fear, not from cold, but from hope. And in the flicker of firelight, as her child fell asleep in safety for the first time, she realized something. She had lost a village, but gained something far more precious. A protector, a partner, maybe even a future. She woke to the sound of laughter, not joyful, but mocking. Cold, familiar. It wasn't coming from the tent. It was coming from inside her mind, a memory. A group of aliens stood around her, pointing, sneering. She can't even keep a mate. Throw her out, let the storm have her. She's broken, just like her child will be. Kyra jolted awake, her breath sharp, heart pounding. The tent was still quiet, warm, safe. That's her son. Still breathing. Still alive. His little body curled peacefully under the blanket. And across from them sat Lucas, sharpening a blade. He looked up. Bad dream? She gave a slow nod. It was a memory, not a dream. Lucas didn't ask more. He simply tossed another log into the fire. That simple act, adding warmth, meant more than words ever could. Later, she stepped outside for the first time since the storm. The wind had calmed. The sky was pale blue. White ice stretched endlessly, untouched and perfect. She took a breath of freezing air and whispered to herself, We should be dead. Lucas was nearby, digging something from the snow. A small storage unit. Inside were supplies, water packs, dried food, tools. You live here, alone? Kyra asked. Lucas nodded. It's quiet. But why? She asked. Why not with your own kind? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he held up a scarred metal tag from his neck. Used to belong to a squad, not anymore. Kira saw the pain in his eyes. Didn't have to explain. She understood that kind of loss. The kind that steals your voice. She sat beside him and looked at the endless snow. My people, they never wanted me, she said. Not after I got pregnant, my mate left. The elders told me to leave the village, said I was useless. Lucas didn't speak. He just listened. I begged them not to throw me out. I told them my child had done nothing wrong. They didn't care. No one cared, her voice cracked. Until now. Lucas finally looked at her. They were wrong, Kira blinked. What? He stood, brushing snow from his gloves. A mother who walks into a death storm to save her child. That's not weakness. That's the strongest kind of love there is. She stared at him. The words hit something deep inside her. A place that had never been touched before. She wanted to cry, but no tears came. Only warmth. That night, as the fire glowed again, Kira found herself watching Lucas more than usual. He was patching a tear in his jacket. Calm hands practiced. She noticed the scars on his knuckles, the deep line along his jaw, the tiredness in his shoulders. You fight a lot? She asked softly. Lucas shrugged. I used to. For what? He hesitated. Then answered, to protect people. Didn't always work. Kira touched her chest. You protected us. That worked. He gave a small, tired smile. Suddenly her son rolled over and murmured in his sleep. Papa. Kira froze. Lucas heard it. He didn't say anything. He just stared at the boy, then looked at the fire again. I'm sorry, Kira whispered. Quickly, he's just a child. He doesn't know. It's fine, Lucas said, cutting her off gently. I had a daughter once. Kyra's breath caught. He had never mentioned that. She died, he said flatly. Long time ago. I wasn't there when it happened. Now the silence between them was heavier than ever. Kira didn't know what to say. So, she did the only thing she could. She reached across the fire and gently placed her hand over his dot. It was the first time she had touched him. Lucas didn't pull away. For a long moment, neither said a word. Two broken souls sitting beside a small fire, far from their worlds, but somehow a little closer to healing. It began with silence, a kind of silence that made the skin crawl too quiet, even for the ice fields. Lucas stopped moving. He stood outside the tent, holding a small scanner. Its screen blinked red dot movement. Big, fast. His eyes narrowed. Inside, Kira hummed softly, wrapping her son in a new blanket Lucas had given her. The boy smiled in his sleep, unaware that death had already started its approach. Lucas stepped back. Inside, calm but alert. Don't panic, he said in a low voice. Stay inside, don't make noise. Kyra's heart skipped. Why? What's out there? He looked at her serious. Something big. Too big to be a normal animal. Might be a snow beast. Her skin went cold. They don't come this close to camps. Unless the storm pushed them out of their caves, Lucas replied. He grabbed his survival knife, then unzipped a hidden pouch behind his bedroll. Inside, a short-barrel plasma flare gun, a rope, coil, and a fire rod. Kira clutched her child. Let's run. Lucas shook his head. Too late. It's here. Thump, thump, thump. The snow outside shifted. Something enormous moved beyond the tent's fabric. Its shadow stretched across the walls. The sound of its breath was deep and wet like steam escaping a broken pipe. Kira covered her son's mouth. She held him tightly, her body trembling. Lucas moved fast. He unzipped the tent door quietly and stepped outside alone. The creature rose from the snow like a living mountain. White fur, ice-covered tusks, red, sunken eyes. It was hungry. And it had smelled life. Lucas lit the fire rod. the blue flame dancing at its tip. He held it like a sword. The beast roared, shaking the ground, but the human didn't move. He just stared it. "Down, I'm not your meal," he muttered. "Back off." The beast charged. Lucas dodged to the side, stabbing the flame into its shoulder. The creature howled, thrashing. Snow flew in all directions. Kira peeked through the tent's flap, her heart in her throat. Lucas moved like he had fought 100 battles. Quick, sharp, focused. He didn't attack to kill, he attacked to protect. He led the beast away from the tent, deeper into the ice field, throwing sparks to keep its attention. But the snow was slippery. Lucas slipped, and the beast's claw slashed his back. Blood hit the snow. Kira gasped. Still, Lucas stood up. His face was pale, but his eyes burned. The beast roared again. Lucas aimed the plasma flare at its face and fired. Boom. A burst of light and heat exploded, blinding the monster. It screeched, swinging wildly, then finally turned and ran, crashing back into the snow hills from where it had come. Lucas dropped the empty flare. He staggered. Then he collapsed. Kira didn't think. She ran. The cold stabbed her legs, but she didn't stop. She reached Lucas and dropped beside him. Blood soaked the snow under him. "Lucas!" She shouted, shaking him. "Wake up! Please don't leave me like they did." His eyes fluttered open. "You ran toward the danger?" he asked, barely breathing. "You ran first," she replied, tears falling now. "You didn't even know us, but you stood between us and death." Lucas coughed a weak laugh. "I guess we're both crazy." She tore part of her tunic and pressed it against his wound. "Don't die, Lucas. I won't let you." He closed his eyes, not from pain, but trust. "I'll be fine," he whispered. "You're strong. Stronger than you know." Kira looked at him, this man who had come from nowhere, who had saved her child, who had fought a monster without fear. And now he lay broken in the snow. But this time she would save him. The wind screamed across the frozen land like a wild beast. Ice flakes hit her skin like tiny knives. Kira held her small child tightly against her chest, wrapping him in every piece of cloth she had. But the cold was stronger than her strength. Her legs were numb. Her fingers had turned blue. The storm had come faster than expected. She had tried to find shelter, but there was nothing in sight. Just endless white. Snow above. Snow below. Snow in every direction. Her child barely 4 cycles old, whimpered weakly. "Hold on," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "Mama's here. I'm with you." But she knew her words meant little now. The cold was stealing everything: heat, hope, life. Back in the village, they had laughed when she asked for help. They called her weak, a burden, a mother with no mate, no worth. They told her to go out and find her own food in the storm. She obeyed. She had no choice. Her child hadn't eaten in 2 days. Now she could barely walk. Her body shook, but it wasn't from fear. It was the cold crawling inside her bones. Her child's cries were fading, short, soft breaths. Then silence. "No, no, no," Kira panicked. She pulled the cloth back and touched his face. Cold, so cold. She fell to her knees in the snow. Her body gave up. She pulled the child closer, trying to share her last warmth. Her eyes stung from the wind. Tears froze on her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I tried. I really tried." The wind was louder now. Or maybe her heartbeat was slowing. She couldn't tell anymore. Everything around her was white, quiet, empty. She closed her eyes. But then, thud, footsteps. She opened her eyes barely. Her vision was blurry. Was she dreaming? Was this the moment before death? A shadow moved in the snowstorm. Tall, wide shoulders, walking straight toward her. Not running, just calm, strong steps. Her mind screamed, monster? Beast? But her heart said something else. Hope? The figure knelt down in front of her. Through her blurred sight, she saw dark cloth, a thick jacket, goggles. A human? She had only seen a few in her life. They were said to be cold creatures, full of war and greed. But this one, he reached for her child first. She tried to protest, but no words came. Just a weak breath. The man pulled out a heating pad from his jacket and wrapped it around the child's body. Then he pulled out another thermal cloak big and thick, and wrapped both of them, Kyra and her son, inside. Without a word, he lifted them into his arms. She gasped, not because of pain, but because she felt warmth. "Stay awake," the human said softly. His voice was calm, deep, and full of life. "You're not dying today." Kyra wanted to ask why. Why is a human helping her? Why didn't he walk past like everyone else? But she couldn't speak. The cold had taken her voice. She let her eyes close, not in fear this time, but in the first hint of safety. She woke to crackling sounds. Fire. Real fire. She was inside a tent, small but warm. Blankets covered her body. Her child was beside her, breathing again. Color had returned to his cheeks. She looked around and saw the human outside, adding more wood to the fire pit. He was busy, silent, focused. Kira's lips trembled. She wasn't used to this. No one had ever helped her without wanting something in return. No one had shown this kind of care. The human walked back into the tent. He looked at her, then at the child. "He's stable now," he said. "You both need rest. There's soup when you're ready." She stared at him. Why did you help us?" The man looked away for a second, as if remembering something painful. Then he said simply, "Because someone once helped me when I had nothing." No other words, just that. He stepped outside again, letting her process what just happened. Kira held her child close. Her heart was still racing, not from fear now, but from shock. A human had saved them, a stranger. A being from a race she was taught to fear. Yet he gave them warmth, safety, life. She whispered to her child, "We're not alone anymore." But deep inside, another thought came. Who is this man, really? The fire crackled softly. But it wasn't the sound that woke her. It was the smell, warm soup. A smell so strange, so unfamiliar, yet comforting. Kira blinked slowly. Her body still hurt. Her hands were stiff. But her child, her little boy, was sleeping beside her, warm and alive. His tiny chest moved up and down. She wasn't dead. Not anymore. She slowly sat up and looked around. The tent was made of thick, patched fabric. A small heater hummed near her feet. There were tools on one side. A jacket hung near the entrance, still covered in melting snow. And across the fire, sitting on a metal crate, was him, the human. He was drinking something hot from a cup, staring into the flames like they were telling him a secret. Kira didn't speak. She just stared. He noticed. "You're awake," he said simply. "Good." His voice was calm, not warm, not cold, just honest. Kira touched her chest. The blanket covering her was thick and dry. She hadn't felt this kind of heat in years. Not since before her exile. Before she became the outcast mother. She tried to stand. Her legs trembled. "Don't," the man said, without looking at her. "You're weak. Sit." He pointed at a small bowl near the fire. Steam floated from it. She hesitated. Her people taught her not to trust gifts, especially not from other species. Nothing was ever free. Still, she picked up the bowl. The soup wasn't much, just some root vegetables and dried meat. But to her, it tasted like life itself. Each spoon warmed her bones. She stared at the man again. He hadn't even asked her name. "Why?" she finally whispered. "Why did you help me?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his bag and pulled out a small bottle medicine. He stood, walked over, and handed it to her. "Your boy has frostbite," he said. "This will help the skin heal faster." She took the bottle slowly, like it was made of gold. Then he sat back down, picked up his cup, and finally answered her question. Because I couldn't save the last one. Kyra frowned. Last one? He didn't explain. Just looked into the fire again. The silence between them grew heavy. Kyra didn't ask more. Something about the way he spoke made her feel that his past was full of ghosts. After a while, she leaned closer to the fire. The heat touched her face gently, and for the first time in years, she didn't feel like a failure. She looked down at her son. He slept deeply now, small fingers curled around the edge of the blanket. You didn't even ask my name, she said softly. The man glanced at her. You didn't ask mine either, he replied. There was a small silence, then Kira gave a slight smile. Kyra, my name is Kyra. He gave a nod. Lucas. Lucas, a human name, strong, simple. She repeated it in her mind like a prayer. Why are you here, Lucas? She asked. No one lives this deep in the ice zone. Lucas sipped his drink before answering. Because people don't follow you here. You're hiding? He looked at her now. His eyes were dark, tired, but not cruel. No, just resting. Kyra didn't understand that. But she didn't push. Outside, the wind howled again. The storm hadn't passed yet. Inside, the fire kept them safe. Kira laid down again beside her child. She watched Lucas as he adjusted the heater and checked some devices. Everything he did was quiet, careful, like someone who had been alone. For a long time, she closed her eyes, but her mind was still full of thoughts. This human Lucas was strange. He was not warm like a friend, not cold like a soldier. He was something else. And he had saved her without asking for anything in return. As she drifted to sleep, one last thought stayed in her mind. What pain is he hiding behind that silence?